Welcome back, Men of the Prize podcast. It's Harvey, it's your host. You know how I do. I have another man on, found a black man. We're going to talk about it, we're going to break it down. Brian David Porter, how are you today, sir?
Doing great, doing great. Thank you again for this awesome opportunity. Definitely appreciate it. Looking forward to some awesome dialogue.
Excellent. And likewise, thank you for giving me of your time so we can talk about some stuff. I hope this is going to be something positive for anyone, you, me, and anyone listening. What I do start every episode with is this. I'm an expert at being me, being the man that I need to be. I'm working on that. I'm an expert in the process of being the man that I want to be.
There
But
you
what
go.
I wanted this podcast to be was a safe space for men to speak. Let's talk about our emotions, our lives, our struggles, up, down. We don't want to hold anything in. So if you gain anything from us talking, is that it's okay to be not okay, to talk to somebody about your issues. We don't want to hold this stuff in. That's what gets us in trouble. So
Mhm.
hopefully while you hear a conversation, it maybe gets something going on inside where, I need to talk to somebody. And if you do so, find a friend, a mentor, a pastor, anyone that you can talk to who will be there to listen to you. It's better to get it out early than to hold on to it, because then we have ways of releasing these feelings, this energy in a bad way. We don't want to be toxic, nothing of that sort. So hopefully this will give you the courage, the opportunity to go find somebody, even if it's somebody who's trained, psychologists, psychotherapists, social workers, somebody to listen to you. So if you get nothing else from this podcast, that it's okay to speak to somebody before something bad can happen. But when you talk to somebody, good things happen. So take advantage of that. And with that said, sir, you ready?
Yes, yes.
All right, let's go. So what I do is, everybody heard your quick bio, but if you could give me like a 10-second, like I came up to you on the street and I needed you to tell me like 10 seconds, tell me about you. What would you say?
I grew up, parents divorced at an early age. I was told I would never be amount to anything. I was always told that because I'm a black man, I had to work twice as hard as the next person. And grew up, and now I'm blessed to have a motivational podcast as well as several books, and just trying to tap into all the giftings in me. And so I'm grateful. I love being able to be a hope and inspiration to people.
Excellent. Good start. All right. So the way this podcast is kind of how I put it together, the word prize I like, and I want to associate it with men. So I took the word prize, 5 letters, and 4 of them represent what I think are good attributes, good characteristics of men, things that we can kind of dive into. The last letter, the letter in the middle, I, represents the completion of the prize thing you'll see as we're talking about it. So the first letter in the word prize is P, and the word is purpose. And that's defined as reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. So, Brian, what is your purpose?
My purpose, at first, I didn't realize it, but then I began to realize that my purpose was in me. All along. It's kind of like how I was explaining this to someone the other day, like how a butterfly doesn't have to go to the store to get their pair of wings. All they have to do is go through the process to be able to tap into what's been a part of them all along. So, that's what I've done. And so my purpose is being able to help change the trajectory of people's lives, as well as being an instrument and vessel of hope and inspiration, and being the light God has called me to be, and being intentional with relationships, and with maximizing my gifts and reaching people, whether through the form of writing, podcasting, life coaching, motivational speaking, but like really reaching people.
Okay, that's good. So, one thing that I have really picked up on is through this season and talking to different men is a lot of us men become a version of something we needed when we were growing up. A lot of us men, if we didn't have somebody we could talk to, we could trust, we become the person that a kid can trust. If we grew up in a house where there was abuse and there's nothing we could do with it or we could stop it, when we grow up, we're the person that helps somebody who's dealing in an abusive household. So we kind of become what we needed. So my question for you is: you growing up, did you have a you growing up?
Did I have a me growing up? I'm grateful for the positive male role models in my life growing up. Of course, I still had my dad, but I would just be with him like 2 months every summer and every other Christmas and Thanksgiving. So, in addition to him, I was blessed to have other male role models in my life.
That's good. That's good. And we don't all have that. So it's always is a question I ask because a lot of times we grow up and sometimes there's just not that man to be there to kind of understand our struggles. So I'm glad. It's good to know that you had somebody. Um, are you that person? Obviously, it's kind of what you do, your purpose. But a better question: do you remember the first person that you were that person for? In other words, the first person, I don't know if it's a family member, nephew, patient, something, somebody in the church, where you took on that part, that job of being their mentor or being that role model?
I do, and actually, I just talked to this young brother a little bit earlier today, and I've been blessed to be a mentor and big brother to him for maybe the last 13 years, and it's been awesome being a part of his growth.
Oh, that's good. That's good. What was that experience like? The first time you kind of jumped in and was helping somebody. How did you handle it? Was it something you wanted to do? Apprehension? How did you feel as you were taking on an important role in our community?
It was almost like I was walking and sharing things that were on my heart, and then I had to like press the pause button and realize that what I was doing was what I was reflecting what I saw when I was little. So it's like, wow, okay, so this is it. Okay. It was like a, light bulb going off in my head. So yeah.
That's good. That's good. Sometimes you got to do something to really realize that this is what you're meant to be. This is what you're meant to do. So it's good that you had somebody kind of lead you in the right direction. The next letter in the word prize, the letter is R. The word is resilience, the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and toughness. So, can you think of a situation anytime in your life where you went through something and you discovered that you had a sense of resilience, an ability to, resilient, and you didn't know you had it? Maybe it's something you found through a tough situation.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Tell us
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. It was about yeah, okay. About 2.5 years ago, well, I was married for 5 years, and about 2.5 years ago, my ex had told me she wanted a divorce. And so, I had set up, at first, there was the initial sting, and then, I set up counseling. We set up, we continued talking, and things seemed to be getting better. And then out of nowhere, she called me one day and told me that she didn't want to fight for it. And I've learned that, no matter how much you may want something, you can't force someone to stay in something they don't want to be in. And of course, it was tough, but I had to like release her. I know in the future, God has the kingdom wife that He has for me. But from that point, I, just in a sense found myself getting deeper in my stance in who I was and in my stance in God's love, and allowing my life to be like wrapped up in His love as I went through the process. And being able to do that has definitely made me a better man, and I'm definitely grateful for that.
Okay, that's good. So I know that's got to be tough. Divorce. I'm a child of divorce, so I can see it from that part of it being in a home where parents are divorced. Can you think of how that situation, that impending divorce and stuff, how it prepared you, or what changed in you in terms of an upcoming or next relationship? How did it change when you were looking or possibly seeing somebody who could be a wife?
Changed how I look at things. It changed how I approach things, and made me more aware of certain things about me. I don't blame her for everything. I realize it does take two to tango, but I was working on what I need to do. But it's like a thing of constantly evolving, constantly rediscovering things about yourself. And although the process was tough, it was so worth it, you know. Of course, it's like going to the gym is tough because you have to lift these heavy weights, but the result at the end, it's worth all the blood, sweat, and tears.
Good. That's good. Uh, did you have to take some time? Because I know a divorce has got to be tough on the soul. Did you have to take some time where I'm not going to deal with women? I'm not even going to look. Did you, I mean, certain men, people in general depression may hit, self-esteem may drop. How was it aside from the process being difficult? How were you for a little while after that?
Well, at first, when she first told me, I I took a whole month to process everything
Mm-hmm.
before I told anyone, before I even told my family, because I felt like I couldn't explain what I hadn't processed yet. So I took a good month to process everything, and I'm really glad I did. And that definitely helped. Helped me. And from that time, just begin like working on myself, and still, working on myself, saving, building my credit, taking care of my body, staying in great health, and it's great, so I'm, positioning myself for when the right one comes, so it's been good overall.
That's good. Excellent. Okay. All right. So we keep moving. The next letter in the word prize is I, but I keep that for the last. So we're going to skip I. The next letter is Z. The word is zeal. That is enthusiastic devotion. What are you enthusiastically devoted to?
Back in October of 2019, felt the Lord tell me to bring sound to the motivation He placed in me, and that's how my motivational podcast began. And maybe um, a year later, I was in the bookstore looking for a book on podcasting, and I heard the Lord say, "Write the book you're looking for." So in June of last year, I released the book based on the first season of the podcast. The podcast is currently in its fifth season, and so with each season there'll be a book attached. So the same
Excellent.
episodes and interviews you could read and watch on Spotify and YouTube, now you can also read. I transcribed everything word for
Oh,
word.
wow. Oh, that's amazing. Excellent. And yes, and real quick note, we'll have the notes in episode notes, how you can get to his podcast, how you can get his book, all that information will be there. But that's excellent. I've always heard that idea. If you can't find the book that you need, you're supposed to write it yourself. So that's
Hmm.
excellent. That's a good way. We'll keep moving. The last letter in the word prize is E, and the word is expectation. So this is kind of a larger question, but I like to ask for you, what do you expect of yourself in terms of goals, aspirations, what you want to get accomplished in 1 year, in 5 years, and in 10 years?
Great question. Great question. Um, First, I believe it all starts with saying no, because my yes is too expensive to say yes to everything. So
Like that.
I've learned the power of saying no and being okay with it, and also the power of resting, because when you think about it, a cell phone can only get to 100% by resting on the charger. And so if I desire to be and stay and remain at 100%, I have to be able to listen to my body and know when it's time to rest, know when it's okay to do certain things, and know when it's like I just need to rest and recuperate. So it all starts with rest, and then from there, um, I definitely see myself still writing books and doing the podcasts, motivational speaking, and life coaching, and working on some upcoming projects, and definitely, of course, in God's time, I definitely see myself married again, for this time for the rest of my life, and growing, and just sharing God's love. And I once heard someone say that one of the world's richest places is the cemetery, because it's full of all the $1 million gifts and ideas that no one tapped into. So I refuse to be part of that number. So I'm with each day and everything I do, I try to do it in purpose, on purpose, intentionally. That's the tagline after my every podcast episode. And so with being, that means being intentional about eating right, exercising, reaching goals. I do have vision boards. Vision boards are great, by the way. And just like giving everything my all. We only got one life, so why not like make the most of it, you know?
Okay, excellent. That's good to hear. So the word prize, like we covered the four letters, the middle letter, the I, to me, is a culmination of everything we kind of spoke about. So as a Black man living in this world, we have a lot of shackles. We have a lot of titles that are thrust upon us. So when you aren't a husband, a father, a pastor, a motivational speaker, a neighbor, an employee, anything, when all of that is stripped of you and it is just you at your core, who are you?
I'm someone that's every day while mastering my strengths, I'm also trying to master my weaknesses because I personally believe that what makes a superhero great is not everything that he's able to accomplish, but it's him being able to identify his kryptonite and him being able to overcome his kryptonite rather than allowing his kryptonite to overcome him. So it's like continually and steady facing that because I realize and notice that, you know, especially on my high days, I may be high, may be doing great things, but it's at those moments where, you know, you know, that temptations or different things could try to come and knock me out. So I really realize I have to stay grounded. And so that's like definitely a inner focus. And in addition to that, I'm Brian David Porter. I love to have fun. I love to dance, listen to music. I love to go for drives, explore different things, meet new people, play dominoes. I just, you know, truly, really believe in enjoying life.
Okay, that's good. Okay. So I have the last few questions that I like to throw at towards the end. So the first is this: what are you afraid of that you cannot control?
That's a real good question. I think um, treating, or excuse me, excuse me, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
To answer that question, I think not valuing someone's time that they are giving me, only to realize that it's the last time I see that person.
Mm,
So that goes back like to making the most of people, you know, because you never know when it will be the last time. So like really cherishing the people in my life, and you know,
okay. So the other side of that question is this: what are you afraid of that you can control?
what am I afraid of that I can control? And with this, I've gotten a whole new perspective. But you know, I used to be like real afraid of how, you know, people react or respond, or you know, sometimes people are just ugly. But I'm grateful that I've been able to control how I respond to it. I've had you know, on the work scene, I've had, you know, people like cuss me out in my face, and me not responding and like just responding in love, and then later on then coming back and apologizing. So just I'm grateful for that love factor, that no matter what, um, I have, you know, as the Christian hip hop artist Bizzle says, all the hating in the world won't make me a hater. And being able to respond in love and knowing that with whatever I face, like, you know, the Father's got me. So, like, you know, if I personally believe like anything He has for me is either within my reach or it's in within the reach of my faith. So, it's like changing my life a lot.
Okay, excellent. All right. Take a second, I guess, contemplate this. What's the best advice any man in your life has given you?
Think I can. There's a twofold answer that for that. One is I'm proud of you because, of course, it's great. You'd like to hear your mom say she's proud of you and that, but it's like when you hear it from your dad, there's a deeper gratefulness with that. So that, and and because with that, I can keep going, and also for this fact that I'm still trying means that the fight's not over. As long as I'm still in the ring, then it's still on. So like in regards to not giving up, every time I wake up is another opportunity to
Mm,
not only keep trying but to do better than yesterday. I believe that the only person we should be in competition with is the person we were on yesterday.
agreed. 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 All right. And the last question I have for you, and I ask this of pretty much everyone, because as like I mentioned at the beginning, we men we tend to hold in a lot emotions, struggles that we have going on. So one, we don't know how to deal with it because a lot of cases we don't have maybe access to somebody who we can talk to who will listen and be there for us. But my question is this: as a black man just living in this world, just trying to be day to day and survive and maintain, keep your spirits up. What do you do when life gets hectic, when life is hard, when it's like you feel like you got the weight of the world on your shoulders? So, what do you do to self soothe?
What do I do to self-soothe? A major thing is not internalizing everything because everything's not meant to be internalized, and
Mm-hmm.
really allow myself to be emotional. And before fully answer that, I just want to say I've noticed, like, as young boys, we're told when something happens, we're told you know boys don't cry, suck it up, toughen up, toughen up.
Yeah,
And so
rub some dirt on it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and so we grow up with the mindset of sucking up, sucking up, sucking up, and then we are men, and all this time we've sucked it up. And then in regards to not all women, but a lot of women out there say men don't know how to show their emotions. Well, when we've been told to suck up and hide our emotions, the
Mm-hmm.
majority of first half of our lives, it's going to take some extra time to like dig deep and peel back the layers and to allow
Mm-hmm.
our emotions to truly show.
Okay, sure. Okay. Last question. And actually, you probably do this, so this kind of leads into what you do, and then we'll go from there. What good piece of advice can you give a black boy growing up in this world? If you could give him, yeah, 10 seconds, what one thing would you tell
I would let him know that there's so much more in him than what he sees. There's so much more in him than what other people may say. There's gold nuggets in him, and I would remind him, within every small acorn is a huge oak tree, and just to try to pull out that oak tree potential from the acorn, and just remind him that he is great, and
him?
really speak life into him.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for talking. I appreciate it. I appreciate the nuggets you gave us. How can these listeners, how can people find you? Tell us about social media, your podcast, your books. Tell us about it all. Where can we get in touch with
Sharon, also going back to the question you asked, what I do to soothe. In addition,
Hmm.
podcasting is a great soothe, and spending time with family, and just going for hikes, listening to music, going to the beach,
Okay.
and for those who desire to reach me, I can be reached on Facebook, Brian David Porter, on Instagram as Brian Davy 1978. That's Brian Davy 1978, and my motivational podcast is called Brian's Place, Brian with the I, Brian's Place, on Spotify and YouTube, and you can find me there as well.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate the information. I'll definitely be looking, start to find out, follow your podcast. I like quotes. I end all my episodes with quotes. And this is the one I chose, and hopefully it works. It is: obstacles are what you see when you take your eye off of the goal.
Hmm.
So since this is a motivational podcast, I like the idea of like, man, you have an idea, this is what you want to do. And the struggle is when, an obstacle is when, it might be, I want to start this business, I want to go to school, but an obstacle might be, oh, she's cute, I need to go talk to her, or I want to buy that car. So I think obstacles are things that we allow to stop us from getting our goals. But if we kind of stay focused and go to what we
Mhm.
really want, nothing's really going to stop us. And with that, Brian, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Everybody's got the information so they can go into the episode notes and find you. And hopefully, if we're lucky, I'll get to talk to you again. But I want to say thank you to you, and thank you to all the listeners of the Men of the Prize podcast, where your inner monologue is revealed. Thank you so much. You have a great night.